Hi there. I just came back from seeing the Super Mario Brothers movie on day one here in the UK. I have a lot to say about it, apparently. I've been sitting here writing notes about what I thought about it. This isn't necessarily going to be a review. This is more just going to be like my general opinion of what I thought of it. Yeah, let's go, I guess. So as I'm sure you know, this is a collaboration between Nintendo and Illumination, who are most well known for the Minions and Despicable Me movies. This is quite easily the most ambitious movie they have ever made. Apparently this film took about 7 years to make, and they quite literally had Nintendo breathing down their necks about every little detail about how the characters moved and looked and everything. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if that 7 years is because they maybe had to go back and rewrite this thing a few times. Maybe Nintendo were quite strict on certain depictions of characters, or we don't really know. I would love to be a fly on the wall of the production of this movie because I can imagine it was quite something. They put the work in, I'm going to say that. They definitely put the work in to make sure that this is the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, this is a movie that you can say, yeah, that's the Super Mario Brothers movie, not whatever that other Mario movie from the 90s was. I really need to go back and watch that because I might end up having a newfound appreciation for just how bizarre that movie is. Compared to this, which I'm going to get into, but we'll get into that. Also, just so you know, even though there isn't really all that much to spoil, I'm going to say, I will be putting a spoiler section at the end of this video, so you can just stop watching the video from that point if you haven't seen the film yet. So the Mario Brothers, they live in Brooklyn, and we get to see what they get up to before they find themselves in the Mushroom Kingdom. So they are freelance plumbers, they have their cute little yellow fan, they've just put some kind of tacky, hilarious commercials on TV, which everyone is heckling them for, and they go to do their first plumbing job, and things go pretty haywire. Their first job does not go well. I'm not going to go into too much details about the plot until the end of this video, but basically they end up in the sewers and they find a big green pipe, and as you can imagine, they end up in the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario ends up in the Mushroom Kingdom, Luigi ends up in what they call the Darklands. One of the first things I should really touch on is the voice acting, because that is definitely the thing that is the most controversial about this movie. Everyone's been talking about the voice choices and whether they're going to work or not. I'm just going to put this out there. I thought Chris Pratt was fine. I thought he was perfectly fine. It was actually a little bit better than I expected. After a while, I just forgot about it. He was perfectly competent. Not incredible, but like fine. It was good. I don't know if that's a hot take at all from other people that have seen this film. Maybe it ruined it for you. I really don't know. But for me, I actually thought some of the other characters were maybe... Some of the voices didn't quite suit the characters. I think in particular, Seth Rogen was just Seth Rogen. He's just doing the voice he does in everything, right down to the like laugh he does. It was quite literally that. If you've heard him in any other film, he is literally just that. Again, kind of works for Donkey Kong. It wasn't terrible. It didn't take me out of the film by any means. I don't think I've ever really thought about what Donkey Kong would sound like if he spoke. I guess I just never really thought about it. It's fine. I wasn't crazy on Cranky Kong. He didn't really sound like how I would imagine Cranky Kong to sound in my head. He didn't really sound old enough, if that makes sense. But this interpretation of Cranky Kong is quite different. Like, he's not exactly like he was in Donkey Kong Country, so I guess it's fine as well. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach. She's definitely got the girl boss energy in the writing and her sassy dialogue, I suppose. She's, from the get-go, like when Mario first stumbles into Peach, she's kind of mean. I wasn't expecting that. Like, when she first encounters Mario, she's like, oh, are you a human? Why are you so small? So you're just so small and ugly. Why are you so small and ugly? The real highlight, though, as you can imagine, as I predicted, was Jack Black as Bowser. Oh my god, he steals the show. He is so goddamn good as Bowser. Exactly what I wanted. He's metal AF. He gets like a number at one point. I'll straight up say it. It's Tenacious D as all hell. Like, my god, I was so happy. I was so giddy. One of the highlights of the movie absolutely was Bowser's little musical number. It's quite short, but
Mate, apparently it was completely improvised, and I can totally see that. Probably the reason to see this movie is Jack Black as Bowser. So goddamn good. Ugh, hyped, brilliant. I actually think Kamek maybe had the best voice out of all the characters. He really was how I would imagine him to speak. He was like proper, the Mushroom Kingdom. It was perfect, absolutely perfect. Let's move on from the voice acting and talk about the other highlight for me, which was the score, the soundtrack. So this was done by Brian Tyler and was done in collaboration side by side with Koji Kondo, and you can really tell the soundtrack is absolutely spectacular. Like, the score is one of the best movie scores I've heard in a while, simply because, and this is going to be a little bit biased obviously, but it's crammed, absolutely crammed with references to classic Mario music throughout the entire history of the series. It's almost a little bit exhausting, if I'm honest, but they do it in a way where it suits the scene. It's like you're underground in the sewers and you think, oh, I see what's going to happen here. They're going to go da-da-da-da-da-da, and sure enough, in a really cool orchestral style, everything you expect to happen audio-wise happens. Like, they do such a good job of waxing you over with nostalgia over the music and just proving how good video game music is. Mario music is as iconic for a lot of people, is up there with like some of the best music on the planet, you know, like they're that iconic. I think the score does a really good job of celebrating the music of Mario Brothers. I think they did a fantastic job there. Let's talk about the pop songs, because that's another thing that I've seen people being like, this kind of takes you out of the film. Right, so there are some pop songs, right? There are some famous songs that spring up throughout the film, but I don't think they were that egregious, because for one, they're in the background, they pop up quite briefly, they're just sort of like flavour audio. Like, for example, in that first trailer where they had the penguins attacking Bowser, in the final film they use that a song from Kill Bill, basically. They use that very briefly. There isn't any moment in this film where the characters stop what they're doing, the plot completely grinds to a halt, and they just start dancing to, like, I don't know, something in the charts. None of that happens. In fact, one of the songs near the start of the film, it was fine by me because I'm biased. No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys shows up for about 30 seconds. I was like, yes! If you put all the pop music together throughout the full duration of the film, it's probably like 2 or 3 minutes. It's so brief, it's not really a problem in my opinion. Let's be perfectly honest, this is an incredibly simplistic movie. It knows what it is. It's an action film, it's an adventure film. There isn't a lot of plot, there isn't a lot of deep lore. It's not emotional, you're not going to be tearing up. There's nothing in the way of like romance. I mean, they tried to do some kind of thing where they're sort of like hinting at Peach and Mario kind of liking each other, but it's so lightly touched upon that it was barely even worth mentioning in the first place. I don't even know why they bothered. If you always thought Mario Brothers games plots were simplistic and basic, then this isn't really going to change your opinion. This doesn't, outside of a couple things that I'm going to mention in the spoiler section, I'm going to say don't go into this expecting it to be any deeper than the kind of stories you would find in your average Mario Brothers video game. It executes on what it was aiming to do very, very well. It's a stunning film to look at. It is a tour de force of visuals. There's just not a lot of depth to it. That's all I can say, really. There's not a lot of depth. You're not really going to feel much outside of probably nostalgia if you're a fan of the games. I guess one of my biggest grievances was Luigi's role in this movie. I'm sure people probably saw this coming by the fact that he's kidnapped in the trailers, but considering this movie is called The Mario Brothers Movie, you just don't see a lot of Luigi. He's kept captive for quite a chunk of the movie. He does show up again at the end and he gets to be in the final fight with Mario. I was expecting Charlie Day to have some pretty good writing or something involving Luigi, but yeah, he's just not really much in it. If anything, I would actually kind of like to see, because you know they're going to make lots of sequels and spin-offs to this. They're going to be milking this for decades, I reckon. If we get some kind of Luigi spin-off, maybe a Luigi's Mansion film, that would be where we might actually get to see Luigi really get some good writing and have some fun stuff. But I feel like in this movie, out of all the characters, I think Luigi was the least utilized, which is a bit of a shame. Bit of a shame, really. But I could see where there would be negativity towards this film, especially from people that have no connection to the Mario series, has never played a Mario game. There are people out there that just don't play video games. That is a thing. I could see where those reviewers would be coming from, looking at this film and being like, what the hell was that? I could totally get it. Best way to describe this is it's a jingling keys movie. You know, just like jingling keys in front of kids, and it's colourful and there's a lot of action, not a lot of plot. This is going to be a weird comparison, but I can see them seeing this film in the same way that people in the 80s saw like the Care Bears movie and the My Little Pony movies, where it's just like, oh, this is just to sell toys. That's all this is. And you know, you could be cynical and just say that, yeah, this is by Universal. They're making this so they can sell more park tickets to go to Super Nintendo World, and Nintendo obviously want to sell more video games. But at the same time, I think a lot of love and care was put into this. You can tell the animators and everyone that worked on this movie clearly loves the series. You can really tell from every single facet of the visuals and the references and everything that was crammed into this. You can really tell a lot of love was put into this. And I guess regardless of what you end up thinking about this film, it is easily going to be the biggest movie of the year. It's going to make bank. I work in the cinema. I just know when I go to work this weekend, I'm going to be cleaning up a lot of popcorn. This film is going to be massive. So in conclusion, I would say go see this movie if you're a Mario fan. Absolutely. Even if it's just for the visuals and just for seeing these characters with such nice animation and such nice visuals on the big screen. And of course, the score is absolutely wonderful. Worth it for Jack Black as Bowser. That alone, I would say, is a reason to go watch this movie. Don't expect like the Lego movie caliber here, or like Spider-Verse or something. Don't expect anything even close to that. If you're not a Mario fan, I don't really know if you're going to get that much out of this movie, judging by the reviews that are out there. People that are not into Mario are definitely not feeling it. So I guess we should now get to the spoiler section.
Warning, incoming spoilers. Warning, incoming spoilers. Warning.
Welcome to the spoiler section. If you've watched the movie, you can keep watching. If you haven't, just stop here, I guess. So when Mario and Luigi first show up in their commercial at the start of the film, I was really surprised to hear Chris Pratt going, "Woohoo, let's go!" and actually doing like the game voice. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then it turns out that he's just putting that voice on for the commercial. He's basically hamming up his accent, which is an interesting way of going about it. It's basically their excuse for why he doesn't speak like that for the entire movie. I think one of the positives of the movie that I haven't mentioned up to this point is the fact that we actually get to see the Mario Brothers family. I thought that was really cool. I actually really enjoyed it. It was quite brief. Again, we didn't even really get to know the names, but we got to see Mario's mum and dad, and I think they're like uncles and brothers and stuff. Again, they don't really go into it too much, but we do get to see them all around the table having their spaghetti and mushrooms. And there's this whole thing where Mario's like, "Ugh, I don't like mushrooms. Ugh, they taste nasty. I hate them." And then he gets to the Mushroom Kingdom. He has to eat power mushrooms so he can power up and literally grow like in the games, which was a bit strange in my opinion. Like he literally like grows, and they don't really touch on it much after the first time he does it. But yeah, he's like, "Oh no, I don't like mushrooms," and then he's forced to eat mushrooms. Peach literally shoves mushrooms down his gob, and it's a bit weird when she does that. Yeah, I really liked how the film started up in Brooklyn. We even get to see Pauline on a news report. She is the mayor of Brooklyn, I guess. I really like the fact that they got Spike from Wrecking Crew in there. So basically the Mario Brothers have quit working for the Wrecking Crew bloke, and now they're setting up their own freelance plumbing company, and everyone's like, you can't do your dream. You should have stayed with your steady job. You should just stay in that. Don't follow your dreams of plumbing. But I did really like that beginning with Brooklyn. I thought the build up to them getting to Mushroom Kingdom was actually really enjoyable. I quite liked that. Of course, the film is crammed with references. I'm not going to mention all of them here. As you can imagine, I was pointing at the screen quite a lot from the very get-go when we're in Brooklyn. and the Mario brothers are hanging out in a pizza place, and it's literally like the Punch-Out pizza place, and there are frames on the wall of Glass Joe and all the opponents from Punch-Out, and I was like, Punch-Out! Woo! Yeah, there's lots of little things like that. Lots of NES games are referenced. There's a part which I thought was quite clever where after his parents were like, your new freelance job is a sham, he was sulking in his bedroom playing Kid Icarus, of all things. I think the reason they picked that game is because it comes up with him dying and it goes, I'm finished, and that's obviously like a little, like that's how he feels. He feels like he's finished because his first gig as a plumber failed miserably because of some weird rabid dog messing things up. Basically, by the end of the movie, Mario and Luigi use the star. It doesn't last like 10 seconds like it does in the game. It lasts ages. They beat the ever-loving stuff out of Bowser and his minions in Brooklyn, and then all his family and that are like, oh yeah, the Mario Brothers, my son, I am not disappointed anymore. And this, is... Again, I don't feel like they touched enough on the family stuff. I thought they should have probably lingered there a little bit longer, but I appreciate that they gave us that little bit of extra lore that the Mario games just never had.
There's some other little backstory stuff that I quite enjoyed, including the backstory of Peach, where it turns out she stumbled on the Mushroom Kingdom, popped through the green pipe when she was a little child, and the Toads took her in and raised her and made her their princess. Again, it's only a briefly touched upon little flashback, but I appreciate that they put that there just to give us some context to who Princess Peach is and why she lives in the Mushroom Kingdom. And they also did a little bit with Mario and Luigi. Again, tiny little scene where it showed them as babies and Luigi getting bullied and Mario defending him, and they looked exactly like they do, like baby Mario and baby Luigi from Yoshi's Island. They looked exactly like that, so that was pretty sweet. I also really like what they did with the Kong Kingdom. Yeah, I really like the Donkey Kong side of it. I hope we end up getting some kind of Donkey Kong movie out of this as well. You could easily make a whole movie just around Donkey Kong, Cranky, and all the other characters. Bring Diddy and Dixie into it. I think that would be sick. I did really like the Mario Kart stuff as well. The fact that they used the actual Mario Kart 8 music and the game mechanics like the flying and the anti-grav. That was all hype as all hell. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, and the DK rap is in it, sort of. It's not the entire lyrics, it pretty much just goes, DK, Donkey Kong, just over and over. He doesn't shoot in spurts, it's just DK, Donkey Kong, over and over. Really disappointingly, I found out that Grant Kirkhope did not get credited in the movie for his DK rap, which is really sad. So let's talk about the post-credits, which, to be honest, I found a little underwhelming. Basically, we just go down into the sewers and we see a Yoshi egg crack open and you hear Yoshi, him poking out. Yeah, a little bit underwhelming, not quite what I was hoping for. And it's not really that big of a deal because we already saw Yoshi's earlier in the film running around on Yoshi's Island. So it's not like a massive surprise. But turns out, I didn't even think of this at the time when I saw it. It's actually a parody of the post-credits scene from the 1998 Godzilla movie with the egg cracking. So that's pretty funny, actually, now I think about it. What I really wanted from this movie was for the post-credits to be like, there was some kind of corrupt pipe that spawned out or gave birth to Wario and Waluigi, like took the DNA of Mario and Luigi and then like spawned them into like these monstrosities of Wario and Waluigi, and they spit out of the pipes. They might do something like this in a future film, I don't know, but I'm just putting it out there. This is what I personally wanted. And then they would both be voiced by Charles Martinet. So let's talk about Charles Martinet, because yeah, they did say he's going to feature in the movie. He played as Mario's dad, which was cool. Again, didn't get a lot of dialogue, but he was his dad. He wasn't doing his Mario voice, he was doing like his natural voice for the dad. And then there was this other character that just kind of looked like Mario, but he just spoke like normal game Mario. Like, woohoo! Yeah, he just cameoed a couple times, and that was kind of it, really. I'm glad he got some kind of role in the film, and obviously we could talk all day about how he didn't get the main role as Mario and Luigi, and we're not going to get into that here, otherwise we'll be here all day.
So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap up there. I think that's definitely plenty. I think I talked way too much about this, but I hope you enjoyed that, and let me know in the comments what you thought of the movie as well, because I would like to know what you think. And I've just been staring at this Bowser picture for ages